Hello everybody! Welcome to The Crafty Chemist. Coming at you today, Sunday, from my craft room. We're going to make these fun Shadowbox cards. Say hi if you're on. And if you watch the replay, say hi. Let me know you're watching on the replay. Hi, Jan. How are you doing this Sunday? It's really hot here. It was probably 90. Hey, Mom. It was a really warm day here, although I just walked the dog and it looked like there might be some rain clouds out there. Yeah, today we were supposed to go down to see my daughter for her birthday, but she woke up not feeling well, so we didn't go down. So just kind of did a few things around the house. Wait for a few more people to come on, maybe. I know a lot of people were interested in learning how to make this, so I know a lot of people will hit the replay. Michelle already said she had to watch the replay because she had something this afternoon. But this is a really fun card, not too difficult, but it looks pretty involved. Well, while we're waiting, we'll let you know about a couple things that are going on. This month, Close to My Heart is having a special where if you join to become a Close to My Heart maker or consultant, we call them makers, this month, you get free registration for the convention that will happen in July, which goes over the release of the new core catalog and the release of the new supplemental catalog, the 2-month catalog. And it's a really fun time. There's a lot of training, a lot of showing you how to do, use the new products and that sort of thing. So if you become a maker, you get free registration for that. To become a maker, it is $50, but you get back $25 in Close to My Heart cash that you can spend on anything you want. And in your first order, you can get for free, or with your payment that you paid, a sort of a new consultant kit with a few small things in it to get you started. And the collection I'm featuring this month is the Stars and Sparklers collection, which I use the paper for that. That's why I'm using this paper and also to make a Father's Day card. So this is the collection of the month, is the Stars and Sparklers. And the stamp set that we're using also comes from the Stars and Sparklers stamp set. Okay, let's get started because there are a lot of steps in making this. So before we start, I just wanted to remind you that this is The Crafty Chemist. I'm Maggie Workman. If you like any of the products today, you can go to thecraftychemist.closetomyheart.com. I will try and link a few of the items that I use directly into the Facebook page, but you can go there to look at all of our products. I go live from my Facebook business page, The Crafty Chemist Designs. This is where I post all of the announcements and show the collections and so on. And I urge you to join my Facebook group. And this is where we share our ideas, we share our projects and ask questions and that sort of thing. I do have an Instagram called Crafty Chemist Designs where I post samples and some reels. And I do have a blog called periodicallycrafty.blogspot.com. And mainly I've been posting about what's available in each of the collections. I will have one in the next couple days about the new Stars and Sparklers collection. So if you want to learn about all that's available in this collection, you can take a look at that. Okay? So let's get started with this. This is what we're going to be making. And it is a Shadowbox card. And why I call it that is because it's sort of like these shadow boxes that you see, you know, at Michael's or whatever. You can get those thick kind of frames where you can put things inside of them. And so this is what this is like. So it's kind of like a box. You can see how it's, you know, box-like. It's 3D, but it does fold flat. And you can put it in an envelope like this. And as long as it's not too heavy, you can mail it with regular postage because it's a 5x7, which fits within the post office, you know, regulation sizes. Okay, so look how cute that is. And it's a little bit, it's 3D, and I'll show you how to get that sort of 3D effect. And it does stand up. You can kind of train it to stand up. This one has been closed for a while, so let me try it. So somebody can, you know, leave it on their desk to look at. You know, it's kind of sort of a decoration. So it's a nice little Father's Day gift, but also, you know, other things. I did make a birthday one that I'm going to show you. So this is the one that I am going to recreate, but I'll show you some of the other ones that I made. This one is 5x7, so 5x7 across. So it's a bigger than an A2 size card, which is what I normally make. But I will show you a sample that I made with an A2 card. And I'll give you a little bit of history behind this. This was the first one that I made, and this uses the You Are Enough stamp set, which is the National Scrapbook Month set. So it uses this stamp set, uses these butterflies. So I had an idea about a card type that I wanted to make using these butterflies. And I searched on YouTube to see if anybody had a video that was something similar so that I could figure out how to do it, because I kind of had this image in my mind and I just couldn't realize it, right? I just couldn't make it happen. I tried several different attempts and I couldn't make it. So anyway, while I was searching for butterflies, I came across a video by Jennifer McGuire, you know, who is a famous, you know, stamper. And she did a similar card to this. She did not call them shadow boxes. She called them something else. I don't remember exactly what she called them. But so I watched how she did it. And this is, you know, basically goes along and follows with how she made them, but using our products. So this was not my original idea that I wanted to make, but I saw this along the way as I was trying to figure out how to realize my idea. And so I thought it was really cool and I wanted to try it out too. So I'm still working on trying to get my other idea made. Hi Diana, how are you today? Thanks for joining. You're just in time to learn how to make these. I'm just talking a little bit about the history of how I came about creating these. And so this was the first one because the video that Jennifer McGuire did do, she used some butterflies, which, as I said, I was trying to figure out something to do with my butterfly stamps. And I saw this and I just really loved it. So I don't know if you can see, it's really cute. It is, you know, three-dimensional, so there's butterflies on the back, in the middle, and on the front. And this one even moves. It's sort of a wobbly one, so it's like he's flying, which I thought was really kind of cute. So this was the first one that I made. But I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do this live until after National Scrapbook Month, which was sort of the collection I was featuring in May, because of, you know, the National Scrapbook Month stamp set that I just showed you, the You Are Enough, right? So I kind of featured this in May. So although I made this, I didn't want it to be my demo card because I had just done some butterfly ones. I did find that I ended up using butterflies from other stamp sets because when I did just that one, even in different colors, it just kind of looked monotonous. So I did take butterflies from several stamp sets. So you can see, I think this is from Daisy Meadows. This is from the You Are Enough. The one in the very back is from, I think it's the Friends one with the girl holding the bouquet of flowers. I think that's one's from. And this one, there was a whole stamp set of butterflies and butterfly sayings. That's what this one came for. I used different techniques. On these ones, I used rock and roll. So you can see how on the inside I used kind of green apple, and then I used some, I think, peacock on the edges. This one I also did, I used daubers and daubed around. So it's not just on the edges, it's on, you know, different parts of the butterfly. This one I did sort of tone on tone stamping. And then this one I just used some different colors. Okay, but I really love that. Okay, so this is one sample. And then another sample, I used the Desserts of the World stamps, which is these ones. I used this stamp set. I saw somebody make a card where they put a donut in a frame, and it made me think, wouldn't it be cute to do donuts in a box, like a box of, you know, a box of donuts? So I thought, I'm going to try that. And so here's where I came up with my sort of box of donuts. So half a dozen kind of could fit in there. This one was a little bit challenging. I'll tell you some modifications I had to make for this. But I don't know how easy it is to tell, but some of them have a shimmer pen on it. That white one has shimmer pen on it. I'll try and move it around. I don't know if you can see it. These ones have sprinkles. So I made chocolate. I made sort of a strawberry top, the white glazed one. Some with sprinkles and some without sprinkles. Okay. And this paper is from the Hillside Cottage collection. So isn't that cute? I just thought it was kind of a dainty, kind of You Are So Sweet. It reminds me of kind of like a sweet little girl's dress. And then even the pink, I don't know if you could see this pink close up, but it's cute little pink printed pattern paper there. And this I actually watercolored with the watercolor pencils. These are watercolor pencils on there. Okay, on the inside of the donuts, I used the tri-blend markers. This, I don't know if you can tell, but I did have to trim off the bottom of the donuts on each side for them to fit in the dimensions of the card that I was making. Okay, but you can't tell that, you know, they just look like they're in the box. Okay, so there's a second one. And then the last one that I made as a sample, I wanted to show you that you could do something similar with an A2 size card. So this is an A2 size card, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, except it's a tent fold, so it opens up this way, okay? You know, our regular cards kind of open up this way. This one I cut out of White Daisy to make this A2 size card. So it opens up this way, and I wanted to make it with this cute little bumblebee, so he's flying in the flowers. Hi Kim, how are you? So I actually happen to have these flowers cut out and colored already. They were just in my stash. I was planning on trying to use them for Mother's Day, something on a Mother's Day card, and it just didn't work out with these flowers. So I had them, and so I decided to use them for this, because doesn't it look like, I don't know if you can see how it looks like the bee is flying among the flowers, which I think is really, really cute. And on this one, I just cut the hole in this paper, and I'll show you how we make this, which is a little bit different than the other ones. So this is just one whole sheet that I die cut the circle out of the middle. Okay, so those are my samples. So hopefully it'll give you some ideas about what you can do with these. But the one we're going to make today is this one. Soak Up the Sunshine, and I'm using the Stars and Sparklers paper, and I'm using the Stars and Sparklers stamp set, which has some really cute summertime, you know, icons, like the little grill and the watermelon and some flowers. And on this one I put the pinwheel on the acetate to make it look like that one is maybe flying in the wind. Okay, so, and this is my Father's Day card that I'm going to give my dad. So I made a Father's Day version. Yeah, this stamp set is so cute, and I made a scrapbook page that I'm going to show at the end, because it's the design we're going to do next week. We're going to do a scrapbook page next week, and I used these stamps on that page, so it's really cute. So I've already cut my pieces out, but I'll show you the stamps up close without that. So it's got the grill, the little utensils, ketchup and mustard thing, the pinwheel, the watermelon, some flowers and leaf. It says barbecue, and it's even got some flags, which I didn't use on this, but I did use on my scrapbook layout. And then it says friends and barbecue, fire up the grill. So anyway, I thought this would be cute for my dad for Father's Day, because we usually, you know, barbecue on Father's Day. So as I said, I did already stamp and cut out everything. One, it'll make things go faster, but two, I was supposed to be at my daughter's house doing this live remotely from her house, and I didn't have all my tools, like my die cut machine and all the inks and everything, so I went ahead and had everything cut out. But these are so cute. For the watermelon, I used, this is flamingo ink and green apple for the rind there. Okay, so let's start off. What you need to do to make this card is you need a card base. So I just took a piece of White Daisy cardstock, and this, you know, as I said, we're making a 5x7 card. So this card is 7 inches wide. So I cut my paper 7 inches wide and 10 inches long. Okay, so that when you fold this in half, it makes the 5x7 card. Okay, so cut a piece of White Daisy 5x10. Okay, 5x10. And then we score it in the middle. So let me simulate it. I've already got it sort of cut out here. So I'm taking my scoring blade, and then I will score it at the halfway point, so at the 5-inch mark. Okay, so 5 inches this way, 5 inches this way. Okay, so then you should have, you know, your 5x7 base card. And then what you need to do is at 1.5 inches on the short side, okay, so on the short side, you're going to score it at 1.5. Okay, so I scored it again at 1.5. And what that's going to do is that's going to make this top piece. Okay, this is a piece, so you can kind of see how, you see how it's 5x7 when it's shut, but then when it's opened up, that piece is folded down. Okay, so this piece here is the part that's folded down. Okay, so I scored it at 1.5. Okay, so now you have a card like this, and again, this is just from Plain White Daisy cardstock. You want to use something that has a little bit of heft since it's the base, so you want something base weight. And then this piece folds, right? And I did fold it both directions just so it gets that good shape, okay? Now, you can do a couple things. On the first card that I made, I inked this. This is with Distress Oxide ink, okay? So I used peacock feathers and inked this up. So I basically, you know, mask this, the rest of this off, and then I just ink this side. Okay, which is fine. You know, you could do that. And then you'll see in the end, I ended up inking on the inside. That's why I inked the front. I inked this because I was going to ink with the same color in the background to make the butterfly sky. But on this one, I didn't ink it. This one, I wanted to use the star paper so it kind of looked like, you know, stars and stripes. So I cut, for this one, a piece of paper that is 1.5 by the 7. Okay, 1.5 by the 7, which, so it's going to fit just right on here. Okay, so it's just big enough to fit on that folded piece. Okay, so whatever color you want to show on the front and to be the top part, you see how cute it is with the stars? It's like the sky, the night sky with the stars there. So whatever color you want to be there, you can either ink it with your ink or do the paper. And so I'm going to do the paper with this one. What you want to do is you have to apply it not on the fold, but right underneath the fold, right? Because when you fold it, you want to make sure that it doesn't get, you know, doesn't carry over. So you want to make sure that you're right up against the fold, but not on the fold. And you are going to cover that up with another piece of paper, so it's okay. Okay, so you can see how it freely folds. Okay. Now, we're going to do the inside piece. And on this card, I just use a piece of Carolina to be the sky in the back. You can, as I did here, I kind of inked it a little bit with the peacock feathers. I don't know if I can make the light show a little bit better. I just kind of inked it very lightly and left a little bit of the white in the background so it looked like the sky. But I'm going to put the Carolina on here. So this piece is 3.5 by 7. Okay, which makes sense because if you add the 3.5 and the 1.5, you get 5. So you want to make sure that it fits in there. And this seems a little bit, I'm going to trim just a very small amount off of that. because it seemed like it was a little bit too long. Okay. Probably not even worth doing, but okay, let's see if this fits in here now. Okay, so it all folds good. So you just want to make sure that you're not blocking anything, right? You see how I put this in here and then I folded it to make sure that it was not too big. And I'm going to use the light side of the Carolina. So this is Carolina cardstock, the color. And I'm going to use the light side. But again, you can ink it with some of the Distress Oxides if you want to. And if you're going to do that, you should just, you know, mask off this part and mask off this part, and then ink up in the middle. Okay, but here I'm just going to use the paper. Okay, and so let's put the top paper on this one. So I'm going to use the stripes here. And you can see on this paper, one side is the stripes, and then the other side is kind of it's got the pinwheel, it's got stars, but it also has some fireworks. So you could use that, but I'm going to use the stars. Okay, and that fits nicely. Okay, let's put this here. And then we'll do the top part in a second. So let's go to work on the inside. So on this one, what I did, you can see these are kind of cloud-like on the inside. I used the Fancy Borders, I think it's called, Fancy Borders Thin Cuts, and I used this one. Okay, I used this, and I just cut a piece that was about, let's see, so I cut a piece that is 1.5 or 2 inches, yeah, about 1.5 inches. So I cut a strip like this, right, and then I put the thin cut on there. And ran it through the die cutting machine. Okay, and then I got this. What you need is a piece that is, here's one I have already done, 4 inches or 4.5. You might want to do 4.5. It depends on how much of a lip you want on it. Okay, this one I did 4 inches, but I think on this one I did 4.5. So then I just trimmed this piece to the 4 inches. I don't know why my ruler keeps going upside down. Okay, so 4 inches. And then I scored it at 1/4 inch. So if you do it 4 inches, score at 1/4 inch. If you cut this piece 4.5, score at 1/2 inch on each side. Okay, and then fold them up. So you're gonna have something that looks like this, where it's on, you're gonna have these tabs on either side. Okay, and then this is what we're going to glue this here, and then glue this down here. So this is what's making the box. I don't know if I can show it this direction. Okay, but this is going to be making the box. Okay, and then we're going to do the same on the other side. So again, a piece that's 4, and I did it 1/4 inch on each side. So this piece without the flaps should be 3.5, because that's the size of this piece. So whatever size card you're doing, you know, like it was a little bit different on this one because I had a different size card. But whatever size card you're doing, you want to make this be the size of this part of the card with some tabs that you can glue on. Okay, so I'm going to glue that here, and I'm going to glue this here. Some other options is on my box of donuts, you can see I just cut it straight. I don't have the clouds, right? Because the clouds wouldn't have made sense in my box of donuts. So actually what I did is I just took a big piece of cardstock and I cut a square out of it so it looked like the box, okay? And I did the same with this one. I just cut a piece that was 4 1/4 this way by, let's see, by 4 inches this way. So 4 inches and 4 1/4, but then I had the 1/2 inch on each side, so that's 5 inches. So I cut this piece 5 inches by 4 1/4, and I scored it at 1/2 inch on each side. So the dimensions don't matter so much, except it has to be however tall your card is. Okay, so however tall it's going to be, that's the size you need to make this size. And here, as I said, I used clouds because it's outside. You know, I did that with this one too. But it could be straight, like in my box of donuts, okay? So here's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to take my liquid glass and I'm going to put glue right along the tab and glue it to the top of the card. And make sure that this isn't clogged up. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little bit here. I recommend the liquid glue. You could use adhesive if you wanted to. I think on my last one I actually used, might have tried score tape. I should have got this going before. Okay, there we go. It's starting to come out. Okay, you don't want a huge amount because you don't want it to like glop everywhere. And so what I'm going to do is put this right up against the edge of my card. Okay. And you want to make sure that when you lay it down that it's even. Okay, you don't want it to be crooked. So make sure you kind of line up the edge there. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And when you glue it, make sure you're gluing it in the right direction. And what I mean by that is on mine I have the clouds pointing in, right, on either side. Okay, so put this here at the top. You want to line it up right against that corner and make sure that it's even on the side. Okay, and you know liquid glass will dry pretty quickly. I got some glue on the bottom there, but it won't matter because I'm going to cover that up. Okay, and so now what you want to do is we're going to do these parts. So I'm going to put glue on this side here. Put glue here. And now here's the part that's a little bit nerve-wracking. Leave it straight down, and then we're going to flip the card up to catch it. Hi, Sandy. Okay, and you don't want to leave it too much there because I did that one time and then it kind of glued the bottom to here because the glue squirted out. So give it enough time so it's a little bit sticking, but then you don't want it to stay flat so it glues it shut. Okay, So now you can see we're starting to get the base of the card here made. Okay, so now we're going to do the bottom part. And again, this depends on what you're making. On my butterflies, I use clouds on the bottom too. I don't know if you can tell, but those are clouds too. Okay, so I used 2 more clouds. On this one, I decided it doesn't make sense to put clouds because we're doing the barbecue, so I put grass. Okay, so I cut out grass for these ones. With the other ones, the other samples, for the donuts, right, it's just a box, so it's just straight. And for the B one, for the B sample, you can't really tell, but all I did here was cut the circle out of the middle. This was a solid piece of paper, and then I just cut the middle up, and then I decorated it with the flowers. These are all, you know, adhered on there afterwards. Okay, so it depends on what you want on the bottom, but I'm doing the grass, and so I cut some pieces out. Like I said, I was going to do it at my daughter's house, so I had these all ready. And what I like when I'm layering the grass, I usually cut one piece that you kind of angle it all the way down so that it's hitting the horizon, not the horizon, whatever, the edge. Okay, for example, you wouldn't want to put, I mean, you could, but like, you see how this one, how this edge just kind of stops, and it just looks like, you know, I just stopped there, which is okay too, but, you know, put one where these kind of angled down. I think it makes it look the best. That one, I don't like the little, oops, I like this little tail here. I'm gonna, okay, so I usually try and angle these down, and I use the same set, the fancy borders, and I've used these 2 for the hills. These make great hills, or they make great snowbanks in the winter time. So on these ones, I use the ones with the double. You can see the ones with the double. And then on this one, I used the one with the single bump. And I made sure that when I cut it, I put it angled down so this went over the edge. Okay, so I'm going to put 2 of these together. And I think I'm going to put this one on this side because it's got the nice edge over here. And then I'm going to put this one here. Okay, so I'm going to do it like that. So basically, I'm going to put some glue right here and glue it up against the edge and hold that for a second. Our liquid glass does adhere pretty quickly. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I know it's hard. I'll try and do it this way. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to adhere the liquid glass on that side. And then I'm probably, you know what, before I stick it, I think on this one I'm just going to put some adhesive just here. I'm not going to use liquid glass there, just to keep these 2 pieces together. There we go. Okay, so now there's the bottom. So now basically we have the box made. That's okay, Julie. Okay, so now you see the front is made. So we're getting there, right? We're getting very close. Okay, so now these cards are dimensional. So to make it look best, you want to put something here on the face of the card, and then I'll show you how to put this thing in the middle, and then you want something on the back, the very back. So like you can see there's 3 levels, 1, 2, 3. The same thing with this card, right? I've got something here, I've got something on the back and something in the middle. So there's 3 layers. With the donut and the bee, there's only, I didn't put anything in the front, right, for this one. It's just the 1 layer in the back. But that's because of the design that I was doing there. I was trying to go for the box of donuts. This one, I have 2 layers. I have the flowers, and then I have the bee. I'm still deciding if I should put maybe some blue or sky in the background of this one. And if I did that, then I would have the 3 layers here. So I don't know. On this one, I only have 2 layers so far. Okay, so how do you do those layers? I'll show you what it looks like on the inside, and then we'll show you. So basically, I don't know if you can see, there's little square tubes there. Okay? And I'll show you how to make those. And that's what's holding up this piece of grass there, or those hills. Okay? You can see I've got one on this side and one on the other side. So first, I'm going to put the things that are on the very back, I'm going to put those on first before I have a lot of stuff there. I don't know, if you don't know what you're going to be making, you might want to put that last, because you'll want to put them, you know, place them exactly where you'll be able to see them best, or whatever. But since I'm going to make it exactly like this, I know what I'm doing. So I'm going to put the cloud in a specific place, and I'm going to put the utensils in another place. Okay? When I did the butterflies, you know, I didn't know where I was going to put them, and I actually kind of moved them around a little bit, and I re-stamped that one in purple, because once I put that purple one there, I'm like, well, they can't all be green. I got to put something purple over there. So, you know, you want to play around with it a little bit. But I'm going to do it for ease now, because I know where I'm going to put them. So one of the things I'm going to put is the cloud. Let's see. So I stamped a little cloud. This cloud came from, it came from the April months of the year. It came from this cloud here. I just cut off the rain part, right? I just stamped it and then cut around that. Okay. But on this one, I didn't really make clouds. I just kind of did the inking. So you can do that too. So I'm just gonna put some adhesive here and stick it about in the same place that's in the sample, about here. Okay, and then I'm going to do the 2 utensils. I'm gonna get my little adhesive backing thing. Okay, here's one and here's the other. I stamped these in archival black ink. I think that gets a really nice black crisp image. Okay, let's do this one. And then what I did is I did kind of put them how I wanted them together first, and then I stuck it on the back. Okay. Let's just stick it there. And you know, I don't know. Do they look like they're just up in the sky? Maybe. I don't know. But I wanted to put them on there, and that seemed like a good place color-wise, right? Because I have black and so on. So I don't know. I could have put them here, but then I wasn't sure where to put the ketchup and mustard. So you can place these wherever you kind of want to, but Okay, now let's do the front part. I'm going to do the watermelon. And so this stamp is a 3-layer stamp. So again, let me get this out here. It's really cute. So this part you can stamp in the pink. So I did that in flamingo. And then you stamp, this is another piece, it's separate. And I stamped that in green apple. And then the seeds are a different color, and I stamped that in the archival black ink right on top of the pink. Okay? So then it looks like this. Okay, so let's put that on there, and because you can't have a summer barbecue without watermelon, right? And where did I put that? I just put it right along here. The one thing I will warn you about is you don't want to put things that are dimensional. Like I wouldn't put dots or sparkles or acrylic shapes, and that's because when you close this, right, you want it to be flat. So you don't want to have right, the acrylic shapes in there, because then it wouldn't be flat. Okay. Okay. And so then I'll do the flowers, and the color scheme for these cards. If you look at the colors, well, this paper shows them pretty well. The color scheme for the stars and sparklers is the red is scarlet. This dark blue, well, this dark blue is what's the word I'm looking for? Sapphire. So this is sapphire. The light blue is Carolina, and then this one is bluebird. Okay, and then they do have some toffee in there. So I decided to stamp one of the flowers in scarlet, and then I stamped the other flower in sapphire. And then here I used the toffee center of the flowers. And actually the center of the flowers are separate. So here are the flowers, and then here's the two centers. And then I also stamped some of the leaves. And I didn't mention that these I cut in sage, because sage is the other color from the collection. It's the green. So I stamped these in sage also. Okay, so let's see how they are. I put the red and then the blue on top, and then the green sage leaves behind it. Okay, so let's start with the red. And you can place these anywhere you want. But what I wanted to do is I wanted the green sage to be on the white part so you could see them. Okay, so I don't know, you might want to think about that as you put the flowers down, okay? Because they wouldn't show up as well on the sage grass. Let's put a little bit of adhesive on these guys. It's a little bit awkward with these 3D. I'm trying to hold it so you can see it. Okay, put these here. And then all I need is the blue flower. And again, that was stamped in sapphire. And I'll put that, overlap it a little bit here. Okay, so all we have to do is the middle part. Jean, are you enjoying your coffee? Just sit back, drink your coffee, and watch what's going on. Okay, now here's the part that makes the dimension. We're going to make the little cubes, these little cubes inside. Okay, let me shut these up for a second and I'll show you how that's made. Okay, so what you want to do is take a piece of cardstock. This is just white daisy, and it's 3 inches long. And you'll see mine is a little bit less than 3 inches, but so about 3 inches. And then you want to score it at every 3/4 of an inch. So these are all 3/4 of an inch apart. Except, I don't know if you know, my cutter is kind of off. So it's a little bit less than 3/4 of an inch. But whatever it is, so make it 3 inches, score it at 3/4, 1.5, and then it'll be 2 1/4, and then 3. Okay, so this piece is 3 inches long, and it's 1.5 inches wide. That can vary depending on what you're putting on there, but this is kind of a typical size. So 3 inches by 1.5 inches, and scored every 3/4 of an inch. Okay, and now you can see how it's going to turn into this little cube. Okay, but it's flexible, so when you open and close it, right, it can open and close. Okay, and so I'm going to put one on this side and one on this side. I did not put them right up against the edge. You could if you wanted to. I didn't, because you can see I put it just so slightly inside so that, I don't know, it didn't stick out, like you couldn't see it if you held the, see, like right now you can't really see that there's a, you know, that cube in there. So I don't know, I didn't want you to be able to, I didn't want it to be as obvious, so I stuck it inside a little bit. So what you're going to do is put glue on the edge of one piece, like that. Now this is the part that's a little bit tricky, is I'm going to put it up on the card like this. So this is going to be against the back of the card, and the bottom is going to be right up against the bottom of the card. Okay, so I'll show you once I get it in here. So I don't know if you can see, you see how I have it right up against the bottom, right? And this is up against the back. All right, let me look in the, okay. Yeah, I think you can see that. Okay. So that's glued down. So now what you have to do is take the other side. I'll show you on a piece that's up here. So I glued this to the back wall, where this is the ground, and now I'm going to put glue right here, and that's going to be against the bottom, up against the back. Okay, so I'm going to put glue here. So this is up against the back of the card, and this is up against the bottom of the card. Okay, so, and you know, a little of this goes a long way. Okay, so I did that, and you want it to be up against the bottom of the card. Okay, hopefully you were able to see that. Okay, so I'm going to hold it against the bottom a little bit. Okay, so you see that? I'm going to do it on the other side, and I'll show you how it works, and we'll test it, but I want to make sure that it's dry, dry enough so when I fold it, it doesn't come off. Okay, now this is one thing you might want to think about, because right now I'm seeing that I put my thing a little bit low. Let me see if I can move these up a little bit. Where's my undo? I need my undo. Let me move these over a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to put this down, and again, this is going to go against the back wall. And you have to kind of get them in there. But it's not too bad. Make sure it's against the back and against the bottom. You want it to be straight, because if it's not straight, then it won't open and close properly. Okay. Okay, so again, hopefully you can see that this is up against the back wall. Okay, and then I'm going to glue this front piece and glue it against the bottom of the wall. If you don't have liquid glass, you could try it with adhesive. But I think something that lets you kind of scoot it around a little bit before it's totally dry is good. Okay, so now you kind of have something that you can prop something up against. So I'm going to put another layer of the grass right in the back. But I'm going to just kind of I'm not going to make it go all the way to the edges, so I'm going to just use one piece, whereas you could, like this one I used 2 to go across the whole width, because this is 7 inches, and these are only 6 inches wide, so that's why I kind of doubled it up. Here I'm just going to put the one layer, okay? And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to try and stick some glue on the front. I might do it with my fingers, just kind of smear it a little bit on the front. And then I'm going to stick the green card on top of that. The green grass there, okay. Let me wipe off my finger, okay. This one you could put adhesive on. You don't have to use the liquid glass if you don't want to. And then, you know, I'm going to raise it up just a little bit so you can kind of see it. What do you think? Is that good enough? Okay. So now I've got my second layer of grass there. Okay. On the butterfly card, I did another layer of clouds. And this one I did 2. So you can see this one, it goes all the way to the edges. I did 2 overlapping cloud pieces. And I tried to make it offset a little bit so that the clouds look, you know, doesn't look exactly the same. So I offset it a little bit. This one, you can tell my grass doesn't go all the way to the edge. But again, that was my choice to do that because I didn't think it needed to be 2 layers again. Okay, now all we have to do is put the ketchup and mustard and the barbecue, okay, on it. So here's the barbecue. I only glued the bottom part, so like from here down, because this is going to be sticking up, and you don't want any adhesive on that because when you close the card, you know, that adhesive would get stuck. So I'm just doing it right here on this bottom part, okay? So I'm going to stick him someplace like right here. Okay, I think I'm going to move these back. If I can reach in there. Now it's starting to get hard where you can't reach. Okay, so I moved them over a little bit. I think I'm gonna move the cloud over just a little bit too. This is why you probably don't want to do that back part first. I was trying to make it easier for you to see. Okay, so that's centered pretty nicely, right? Now let's just add the ketchup and mustard. And again, there's only one stamp, but I stamped it once in yellow, and this is canary, and this is scarlet. So I'm going to put adhesive on these. And did I cross them? Okay, yeah, I just barely crossed them. I didn't want them to look too too much like the crossed fork and spatula in the back. So I'll just put these kind of side by side. I did get a little bit of sticky up at the top of that. You want to watch to make sure that you don't get any adhesive on parts that aren't covered up, because then that would stick to the back. So I'm just gonna put some of this anti-static pouch so that it doesn't stick. Because once I close it, right, it's going to, it would stick to the back. So let's try and close it before we get too far. Okay, yeah, see, it's doing pretty good. Okay, I'll show you how to do the pinwheel in a second. I want to do the front part so that what we do is you can cover this. It's to cover that gap. I mean, on this one it actually doesn't look too bad. Sometimes that gap can look a little bit funky. So this piece is cut 1.5 by 7. And then this piece I cut 1.25 by 7. Okay, and I did stamp it already. And this is from, Soak Up the Sunshine is from the June months of the year. Well, you could have put Lazy Days of Summer. This was a little bit too tall for that, for the 1.25 inch. So, so let's just adhere these. Onto, I gotta think. Okay, I put it on like this. You want to try and make it even as possible. Okay. And one thing that Jennifer McGuire did on her card, which if you missed the very beginning, I said this inspiration was from Jennifer McGuire. She stamped a little sentiment at the top here, which I thought was cute. And so I put Fire Up the Grill. On the butterfly, I put You Inspire Me. So it's just a cute little saying. Okay. So you would want to stamp that before you put this on. And then when you put it on, you want to make sure that, see, part of that's going to hang over. You see how this hangs over the edge a little bit? So it's about halfway. So let's put this so that you can see the Fire Up the Grill. You want it to be even. There we go. Okay, so it says Fire Up the Grill. And then I took this, I stamped this little smile, or little sun, and that was from, yeah, that's from the June stamp, not stamp of the month, months of the year, the June months of the year. And this is a 2-layer stamp. It's got the yellow, I stamped it in canary with this one, and then stamped it in black with that one. And let's put that on top. But you could put whatever decoration you want. One thing you want to make sure is that it doesn't hang over this edge, because you'll be able to see it when you open it up. Okay, and the last thing I want to put on this is the element that moves. And in this card, I put the pinwheel is moving. Whereas in the butterfly one, I made the butterfly kind of look like it, you know, right? He kind of moves like a butterfly's fluttering around. And how I did that is I took a piece of, I actually have transparency film from, you know, like you would use on a projector, you know, the old school projector, but any acetate, if you had a piece of plastic from like the back of a sticker, if you have, you know, stickers on the plastic sheets, or, you know, an envelope, or, you know, something that's adhesive, acetate, not adhesive, acetate. So I cut this into a 1/2 inch strip, and then I'm going to cut it about however high I want it to be. So I'm going to cut it about here. And this transparency film is very thin, and so this wouldn't really hold up my thing very well. So I'm going to do another, I'm going to double it. If you have a heavier piece, like from a sticker sheet, you can just do the one piece. Okay, and so what you want to use for this is probably some kind of double-sided tape that, or a single side, like a piece of Scotch tape or something that is only sticky on one side, or if it's sticky on the other side, it has a, you know, a release paper on it. So I'm going to cut just a piece like this. I don't know. Okay, and I'm going to adhere this to, I'm going to put it on the back of this middle layer. Okay, I'm going to cut this a little bit smaller. It's a little bit too tall. Okay, so I'm going to glue it to the back of the green grass there. So I have it like that, and I'm going to stick this double-sided tape on there. And it's hard to do it with you trying to let you see it. That's why it's kind of awkward here. Okay, well, you can see the, okay, let me try again. You don't want to be able to see that release paper, right? So you want to put it in a way that's not going to show the release paper. Okay, so now this acetate is, I know it's probably hard to see, but it's taped to the back of there. And I'm not going to take off that release paper because you don't want it to stick to the back wall whenever you shut the card. And then I'm just going to do the same with here. I'm going to get a smaller piece of double-sided tape that's got the release paper on the side. So this would be, like I said, a good use of Scotch tape or something like that. And then I'm just going to stick the tape on the back. Okay? Okay. So now, you know, the pinwheel can look like it's kind of blowing in the wind. It's moving in the wind. You could use adhesive on that if you think the adhesive would hold well on the acetate. Okay? And then look at your card again to see if you want to move anything because you can't see it well. And I am going to move the cloud one last time. And you guys wonder why I go through undo. But luckily I didn't need much undo for this because I just used the regular adhesive. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, so there you have it. And then you can stamp any sentiment that you want. And again, this can stand up so the person could put it on their desk, you know, if they want to. On this one I stamped Happy Father's Day, but you know, on this card I might put friends or barbecue or family fun, or you know, one of these things, or something else. Happy summer. I could put the lazy days of summer from this one, or good vibes only, you know, whatever you want. So see, that wasn't too hard. Yeah, packaging from, you know, different products would work. Anything that has a little bit of acetate. I just happen to have some transparency film because, you know, being a teacher, we use transparency, so now we don't. So I have some that I haven't been using. Okay, so, you know, this is not really, it's hard to do, right? It was really very easy, especially if you do something like this where, you know, I didn't do this individual sides and then the bottom. I did do on this one, I did one of the square little prop things there. And I didn't put anything in front of it. I could have put grass or something there, but I put the bee right onto that cube. So this is very easy. So I just took this piece, die cut the circle out, and then, you know, there you go. So it's just a little fussy. Like I said, this one, the one thing about this one is, since this piece is only 3.5, my donuts were a little bit bigger than, you know, 2 of these was a little bit wider than the 3.5. So as I said, I just cut off the very edges of those. I don't know if you can see, but I just cut off like maybe a quarter of an inch, not even, I think, a quarter of an inch to make them fit. Also, since this had a circle that was cut out, I ended up putting that circle back in, like I glued it back in, because you could see the little cubes, right? You could see the little cube through the hole. So on this one, I ended up putting the donut holes back in there, so you didn't see the cubes. Okay, but this one you don't have to worry about that. Okay, any questions? And like I said, I can think of so many designs. This barbecue I just thought was really cute with the grass. So this is really what I had in my head. The butterflies was the first one that I made because I was in a butterfly mood, right? And so, and on this one, as I said, the difference on this one is I inked the blue and I inked the back. These are all paper. But it does fit into a regular, this is a regular 5x7 envelope from a card, like from Hallmark. This is from the dollar store, I don't know, so it's a Dayspring. But this fits in here fine. I did test it out. You can see it might have been a little bit wider, but it fit in there. I could close it. Same thing with this one. It fit into here. These are just from the dollar store cards. And the butterfly one, I made this to fit a regular A2 envelope. So this will fit into the A2 envelope. And it's regular postage as long as it's not too heavy. Okay, so this one will fit right in here. See? I know 5x7 is not my typical card size, but I wanted to fit all of the stuff on there. That's why I used it that size. But you could make it any size that you want and just follow along. Like I said, make sure the measurements of, you know, your pieces here match up. Okay, so you could do any size you want. Okay, next week I'm going to do a scrapbook layout, and I'm calling this one Bust Your Stash because I am just going to take a bag of scraps that I have, and I'm going to recreate this. I made this layout, let me see, make sure it's in the screen. I made this layout with the paper that was left over from the Stars and Sparklers Scrapbook Workshop Kit. So these are just the leftover pieces. So for next week, just grab a bag of stash, which I'm going to, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do my Happiest Place. This is my leftovers from the Happiest Place collection. I'm going to make my layout out of that. And then I have the pieces left over from the Happiest Place. The acrylic shapes and any stamps that I have. So just next week, grab a bag of your scraps and join me. We'll make this layout like this. Okay? If there's no questions, I'll let you go. Yeah, this is the layout from using this stamp set. So the one that I just did, right? It's got the watermelon, the pinwheel, the ketchup and mustard, some of the stars, the family friends fun. It's got the spatula in that and the grill. And then I didn't use it in the card, but there's the little flags and the rope or whatever. But so we'll make this layout, but with whatever scrap paper you have. It's a really great scrap buster layout, and we're just gonna make it as we go. I'm not gonna have any plans except the overall, you know, sort of design. But I don't know what I'm gonna put where or anything like that. Okay. I will post the picture sizes. These are all 3x3s, 3x4, and that's a 4x6. But I will post it. I will post it for you. My pictures are actually slightly smaller than 3x3 because, as you know, if you have the selfie, I don't know. I couldn't get it to print 3x3. You print 3x3, but then it's got the little white border around it. So, but I will post that. I'll post that next week. Okay. Okay. See you next week. Bye.